Awesome. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I want to receive the blessing of Radha Madhav, Radha Shyamsundar, Krishna Balaram, Bal Gopal, Nrsimhadev Bhagavan, Radha Damoda, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra, Gaur Nitai, Tulsi Maharani, Haridas Thakur, Guru Parampara, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj and the Assembly devotees. So, on to chapter 72 of the 10th canto, which is entitled The Slaying of the Demon Jarasan. Yesterday we were hearing how Uddhav had advised Krishna to go to Indraprastha first and then take beam to defeat Jarasan. This chapter describes how Lord Krishna heard King Yudhishthira's request and then arranged for Bhimasen to defeat Jarasan. One day, King Yudhishthira addressed Lord Krishna as he sat in the royal assembly surrounded by eminent sages, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishya, and his brothers, spiritual masters, etc. So he addressed the Lord, "My Lord, I wish to perform the Rajasuya sacrifice. In this sacrifice, people uninterested in your devotional service will be able to see firsthand the superiority of your devotees and the inferiority of non-devotees. Purified persons who serve you are sure to obtain freedom from material existence, and even if they desire something, they are never satisfied. You bless all people who popularly worship you, granting their desired fruits in proportion to the service they render you." Very interesting comment by Yudhishthira Maharaj here. So the Lord reciprocates according to the devotion given. Lord Krishna extolled Yudhishthira's proposition. "Your idea to perform a Vedic sacrifice is so excellent that it will spread your fame throughout the universe. Indeed, all living beings should desire this sacrifice be performed. To make this sacrifice possible, however, you must first defeat all the kings of the earth and collect all the necessary paraphernalia. No one in this world, even a demigod, can defeat my devotee with his strength, beauty, fame, or riches." Satisfied with Lord Krishna's words, King Yudhishthira sent his brothers to conquer the various directions. He sent Sahadev to the south with the Srijayas, Nakula to the west with the Matsayas, Arjun to the north with the Kekayas, and Bhim to the east with the Madrakas. After they had conquered or won the fealty of or the kings in their assigned directions, they brought back abundant wealth to Yudhishthira. They informed him, however, that Jarasan could not be defeated. As King Yudhishthira pondered how he could subdue Jarasan, Sri Krishna revealed to him the means for doing so, following the previous advice of Uddhav. Bhim, Arjun, Sri Krishna then disguised themselves as Brahmins and went to the palace of Jarasan, who was very devoted to the Brahminical class. They introduced themselves as Brahmins to King Jarasan. This is a very exciting part of Mahabharata as well. Flattering him by praising his reputation for hospitality and requested him to grant their desire as they were needy guests. Seeing the marks of bowstrings on their limbs, the sound of their voices, and their physical stature, Jarasan concluded that they were warriors and not Brahmins, and he thought he had them somewhere before. However, he promised to fulfill whatever desire they might have, thinking that what is the use of an unqualified Kshatriya who goes on living but fails to gain everlasting glory by working with his perishable body for the benefit of Brahmins. So actually, Jarasan had some interesting qualities. He was, of course, opposed to Krishna, so that destroys most of his interesting qualities. But from his way of thinking, that's a very interesting way of the thought process. Jarasan remembered the spotless glories of Bali Maharaj. He's completely different from Bali Maharaj, because Bali Maharaj, although he conquered the demigods, still he was a great devotee of Sri Krishna, of Lord Vishnu. And he ultimately surrendered everything to Vishnu. Anyway, Jarasan told Krishna, "Arjun and Bhim Jarasandha told Krishna, Arjuna, and Bhim to choose whatever they wish, even if it was his own head. At that point, Lord Krishna discarded his disguise, introducing Bhim, Arjuna, and himself, and they asked Jarasandha to fight Bhim or fight him, Krishna, in one-to-one combat. Thus challenged, Magadraj laughed out loud and contemptuously said, "All right, you fools, I'll give you a fight. But I will not fight with you, Krishna, for you are a coward." He was remembering how Krishna ran away from him, and he's known as Rancho. "In fear of me, you fled your own capital, Mathura, to take shelter in the sea. As for Arjun, he is not as old as I am, nor is he very strong. Since he's no match for me, he should not be the contender. Bhim, however, is as strong as I am." Thus Jarasandha handed Bhim a club, took up another one himself, and they all went outside the city to begin the fight. The two heroes thus began battling skillfully, circling left and right, like actors dancing on a stage. The fight presented a magnificent spectacle. When Jarasandha and Bhimsen's clubs loudly collided, it was like the impact of the big tusks of two fighting elephants. They swung their clubs at each other with such speed and force that as the clubs struck their shoulders, hips, etc., the weapons were crushed. Their clubs, thus ruined, fought each other with their iron-hard fists. As they thus fought, this contest between opponents of equal training, strength, and stamina reached no conclusion. So they kept on fighting without any let-up. After the fight had gone on for some time, it became clear that the two opponents were equally matched for either to gain victory. So this is Jarasandha. Anyway, Lord Krishna knew the secret of his enemy, Jarasandha's birth and death, and also how he had been given life by the demoness Jara. Considering all this, Krishna imparted his special power to Bhim. Having determined how to kill the enemy, the Lord of the infallible vision made a sign to Bhim by tearing in half a small branch of a tree, showing Bhim how to kill Jarasandha. Understanding this sign, mighty Bhim, the best of fighters, seized his opportunity by the feet, by the feet, and threw him to the ground. Stepped on one of his legs, seizing the other with his arm, proceeded to tear him apart from the genitals to his head. Sure. There is Bhim. So what had happened, the history, there's a small history behind Jarasandha. When he was born, he was rejected by his mother because for some reason. And he was thrown out effectively, even though he was a baby. And a demoness called Jara. Actually, I've forgotten the story now. Anybody remember the story? The pastime? Anyway, I think Jara put him together. Because somehow he was born half and half. She put him together and he became whole. Hence why he's known as Jarasandha. Something like that. So then Krishna knew that the way to kill him is to split him into two. And this is what he told Bhim, and that's what they did. The king's subjects then saw him lying in two separate pieces. Seeing Jarasandha dead, his relatives and subjects cried out in lamentation. Lord Krishna then appointed Jarasandha's son ruler of Magad and released the kings Jarasandha had imprisoned. Chapter 73. Lord Krishna blesses the liberated kings. This chapter relates how Lord Sri Krishna, after freeing the kings imprisoned by Jarasandha, mercifully gave them his audience and bestowed royal gifts upon them. When Lord Krishna freed the 20,800 kings, that's a lot of kings, Jarasandha had imprisoned, they immediately fell to the ground to pay him obeisances. As these kings emerged from the Giridroni forest, they appeared dirty and shabbily dressed. They were emaciated by hunger. Their faces were dried up. They were greatly weakened by their long imprisonment. The king then stood with folded palms and began to pray to him. The king said, "Since we have surrendered to you, please save us from this terrible material life." So this is very intelligent. Kings were saved from the imprisonment of Jarasandha, but now they understand that they are in the prison of this material world. We do not blame anyone, since it is your mercy that the kings fell from their position. Infatuated with his opulence and ruling power, a king loses all self-restraint. Bewildered by your illusory energy, he imagines his assets to be permanent. This is a problem with everybody. Those who are irrational look upon the illusion of Maya as substantial. We want to conquer this earth, thus we fought one another. We arrogantly disregarded you, O Lord, who stood before us as death. Now you have destroyed our pride. We simply beg to remember your lotus feet. Never again will we hanker for a mirage-like kingdom, a source suffering, and nor will we hanker to enjoy heavenly fruits of pious work in the next life. Since the promise of such rewards is simply an empty enticement for the ears. Please tell us how we may constantly remember your lotus feet. Here we go again, remembering the lotus feet of the Lord. Very, very important. And we can learn from these kings because they've made the mistakes. And we've probably made the mistakes as well. And it's good to learn from these mistakes. You vanquish the sufferings of all who surrender to you. Seeing their imprisonment as an act of mercy by the Lord to smash their false pride, the kings prayed only to be granted whatever would facilitate their perpetual remembrance of his lotus feet. The Lord assured the kings that their prayers would be fulfilled. He instructed them. So, this is Lord Krishna now. From now on, my dear kings, you will have firm faith, firm devotion to me. This is because you have come to the proper conclusion. I can see that human beings' lack of self-restraint simply leads to madness. This madness arises due to their intoxication with opulence and power. This material body and everything connected with it has a beginning and an end. Thus worship me by Vedic sacrifices and always keep your minds fixed on me whilst performing your duties. That's not an easy thing to do. You're doing your duty, unless your duty is directly connected with Krishna. If you're working, then sometimes the focus is on the work and the mind cannot necessarily be fixed on the Lord. But the Lord is saying here, fix the mind on Him while performing duties. So it's something to practice. Be detached from the body and everything connected to it. Remain self-satisfied. You will ultimately attain, remaining self-satisfied, you will ultimately attain me, the supreme absolute truth. So these instructions by the Lord are actually phenomenal instructions. Really phenomenal instructions. And he doesn't often give such clear advice. I mean, he does, but it's not necessarily so easily accessible as it is here. So this is really, in a few lines, very clearly stating how one can live in this life. In the Bhagavad Gita, he took some time. It's a Bhagavad Gita, 700 verses. In these, like maybe how many, 6, 7 verses, he's given the summary of Bhagavad Gita. Lord Krishna then saw to it that the kings were properly bathed and dressed, and he had Sahadev offer them flower garlands, jewelry, sandalwood pulp. This is 20,800 kings, huh? Fine clothing and other things suitable for kings. Lord Krishna saw to it that they dined on excellent food. He also presented them with various items befitting the pleasure of kings, such as betel nut. After having them adorned with jewels and golden ornaments, he seated them on chariots and sent them off to their respective kingdoms. Thus liberated from all difficulty by Krishna, the greatest of personalities, the king departed. As they went, they thought only of him, the Lord of the universe, and of his wonderful deeds. In accordance with the orders given, the Lord had given them, they began to carry out their various duties once again. Then Lord Keshav accepted worship from King Sahadev. He's the son of Jarasan, and then departed with the two sons of Partha. That's Arjuna and Bhima. When they arrived at Indraprastha, the victorious heroes blew their conch shells, bringing joy to their well-wishing friends and sorrow to their enemies. The residents of Indraprastha were very pleased to hear that sound, for they understood that now the king of Magad had been put to rest. Yudhishthir felt his desires were now fulfilled. Bhim, Arjun, and Janardhan offered their respects to the king and informed him fully about what they had done. Upon hearing their account of the great favor Lord Keshav had mercifully shown him, King Dharamraj shed tears of ecstasy. He felt such love that he could not say anything. So that's the end of this chapter 73. This chapter is a very important chapter, especially because, one, the kings are praying to him in such a sincere and way which we can completely relate to. And second, Krishna gives such phenomenal advice. Any questions? Any comments? Please.
So, just one thing, Prabhuji, something I didn't know that Rajasuya Yagna, they invited Krishna, but then they went on to defeat all the kings, and then the Yagna happened, is it?
Yes. Because the only way that the yajna can take place is if the king is the king, if the one who's doing the yajna is the king, undisputed king.
Yes.
Yes. The only way he can become undisputed was if they could defeat Jarasan.
Okay.
Yeah, so they had to defeat Jarasan first, and then they did the sacrifice.
Okay. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we can stop there. Srimad Bhagavad Puran ki jai, Shri Krishna Chandra Bhagwan ki jai.